Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. You know, I'm not much on reading things. That's for Mr. Stevens to do. I just kind of like to talk off the cuff. So I'm going to kind of loosen up a little bit by giving you a little anecdotal thing here this morning. My dad, I like to tell people, I was telling Mr. Jones that, you know, a lot of times you run into people and you say, where are you from? And they can't distinctly tell you exactly where they're from because they moved around a lot because they were military brats. Well, I was what you call a municipal brat because my dad had a job just like what you guys are doing. And I remember one of the first things I remember about power is my father coming home one day, and I never knew him to be much of into art, but he had this beautiful rendition of some abstract of a ceramic looking thing that was about that long, and I actually have it at my home. And he had been out on a job, and an energized line had hit a mud puddle, and after the line was secured and everything was back to normal, he just happened to look over, and when that line hit that mud puddle, you guys know what it did, and it actually made a piece of art because it was 20K or whatever. So I know how important your job is, and I know how dangerous your job is, and I know how we in New Bern and throughout North Carolina and the nation want to do everything we can to make sure you guys are safe and getting the right training and the right tools to do your job, because at the end of the day, I can tell you, they call me when the power goes out, and all they want to know is how soon is the power going to get on. They don't know about what you guys do. And it's very important that I express that, the thanks that we have for your job. This is a very important morning because not only are we going to unveil a license tag, but we actually have the CEO of Electric Cities here, Mr. Jones, Roy Jones, who's going to make some comments in a minute. And we just want to really thank you for coming. And thank you, your leadership, Electric Cities, for where we are as far as the promotion and the public awareness and the service and reliability that municipalities give to the power grid in North Carolina. So at this time, I don't think I see any aldermen here. So I will just go through and introduce Mr. Jones. Would you just stand up for just a second? And this is a very important because of the ability in North Carolina through the Utilities Commission and everything else that we are able to compete. And now with the buyout on parity with Duke Energy. We have Michelle Vault, Vice President of Corporate Communications with Electric Cities. Welcome. City Manager is not able to be with us. Charlie Broussard is with us this morning, who heads up our electric department here in New Bern. I see Steve Anderson. Steve, would you have anybody you want to introduce for me that's with you today? Would you stand up?
Actually, we brought Victor Salgado, and he's our new energy management specialist that deals with key accounts in the city.
Okay. I see you on TV all the time. Okay. And so we're honored to be the first city in North Carolina to unveil this license plate. Thank you for the privilege of being able to do that, and I hope you know how honored we are and the way we're going to promote this in North Carolina. We're very appropriate to start in New Bern, where it has been a tough year of recovery after several storms. This hardworking group, has made sure that the power has been restored as timely as it could be during both Hurricane Florence and Dorian. And although outages were minimal and short-lived during Dorian, thanks to our staff, mutual and public power crews from across the state and more than a dozen from across the country were able to restore the power to 66% of our customer base within 48 hours of Hurricane Florence, and when it passed over New Bern. And so 90% were restored within 4 days. And this speaks to the commitment to keeping the lights on, to partnering with other public power agencies to restore service as quickly and efficiently as possible, and to serving our residents and our businesses and customers to the best of our ability. This line of work is a family of people who respond no matter to the heat, the cold, the wind, the rain, the snow, and the hurricanes. And we thank each and every one of you. And I can tell you the biggest thing that we were trying to do, and we were catching a little flack for our curfew, is we want to make sure during these hurricane events that as many folks as we can are not on the road, so that you guys can safely get out and restore that power and not be in harm's way. And we just, again, appreciate what you're doing and the cooperation within all the 470 employees of the city of New Bern as to how the first responders and the power crews all work together to restore that power and to keep everybody safe. This life-size license plate will be on display in our Public Utilities Monthfest booth for the weekend, and we hope everybody will stop by. And if you'd like to order one, we have flyers with information on them, and they'll be available at our Monthfest booth. And at the end, it'll introduce to the public the opportunity to purchase one of these license plates. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Roy Jones if he would to come up and make some comments. And again, he is the Chief Executive Officer of Electric Cities. And welcome to New Bern.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, at least we was able to come inside. We was a little bit drier this morning and talk about the license plate and everything. But before I do, let me just take a few moments and you know, this is a big week here in New Bern. Not only with the unveiling of this license plate here this week, but also with y'all's Monthfest. So it's pretty neat to be able to be here this week and be able to recognize this license plate and y'all and all the work y'all do. This week is also National Public Power Week, and there are about 2,200 public power communities across the United States that are that public power local ownership community. And the largest one, I think, is Los Angeles, California, and I think the smallest one is Bostic, North Carolina. And so if we get the honor of having the smallest public power community in the nation, and they've got 200 people that they serve with their public power community. But what's important about public power, and clearly, you know, all the public power communities, is being able to have that local ownership and local control. The elected officials, Charlie, they put forth rate schedules and talk about what are appropriate competitive rates for residential and commercial industrial customers. And so those decisions are made right here in the community where those decisions and the needs of the community are best known. You know, it's not the folks in Raleigh, it's not the North Carolina Utility Commission, and profits don't go to shareholders. The profits and the value of that system stays right here in this community. And the work you all do every day to make sure that the system stays up and stays reliable is what makes public power work. Y'all are here, you're local, you know the citizens, as you were saying, you know, you're right here when hurricanes come through, y'all are the first responders to get out so folks' lives can get back to normal. It also allows, you know, communities to think about things like economic development. So as you want to attract, you know, jobs to the community and competitive rates and things like that, to be able to attract those businesses that you want to the community, y'all control that through your rate setting process here. And I'll tell you, I know that the mayor has kind of talked about it a couple times, you know, back in 2015 when we sold our ownership interest in those plants, the 2 coal plants and the 2 nuclear plants, it allowed all 32 communities in eastern North Carolina to immediately lower their electric rates and become competitive. And I was looking at some numbers the other day, and I think since 2015, since we closed that asset sale, about $430 million has stayed in those 32 communities. It didn't go to pay for debt service for those plants. And I call it, you know, the gift that keeps on giving. Because it truly has been a game changer in North Carolina. You know, one of the things that, you know, clearly we're here this week to talk about, you know, the license plate, and I want to kind of give you a little genesis of how this started. You know, you guys work and sacrifice, you know, time and time again, whether it was with Florence, with with Dorian, although Dorian didn't turn out to be quite what we thought it was going to be. Knock on wood, we'll take it. But you know, Florence, man, that thing tore up eastern North Carolina, and flooding and a lot of devastation. Some communities are still trying to recover from it. But that work and sacrifice that you all do every day, and especially in times of storm, is what we were trying to recognize. And so Duke and the co-ops and us, we all got our creative teams together, Michelle and Candace McMath, and sat down and said, how can we honor their work and their sacrifice in a real meaningful, visual way? And so when that collective group kind of got to thinking, what could we do? They came up with this idea of this license plate. And then so they started working on the graphics design of it and what it would look like and all that. So it would truly represent public power. It would represent the co-ops. It would represent Duke, across the entire state. So you can see when you look at the license plate, you see the mountains, the plains, and then you see the coastal regions across the bottom of the plate. So that was all designed so that it connected our entire state across the state. Well, that was probably the easy part, because then once you get this concept, get this idea, now you got to go down and you got to get the legislators to both the House and the Senate to introduce a bill to get this thing so it can actually be signed into law. Well, it took a few turns here and there because it got packaged with a whole bunch of other license plates that folks were questioning, why are we doing this? And this was not one of them. There was complete support for this one. So we were able to finally kind of get this thing pulled out of the bucket of all these license plates that were being proposed and get this thing pushed across out of the House, the Senate. And in fact, Governor Cooper, when he signed the bill into law, Dorian was literally heading right to our coast. So it was almost like the week of the hurricane, he signed the bill that made this become law that allowed this license plate to now be available. It is available, and I will tell you this, there's the normal registration fee that you pay, and you also going to pay $30 more for the license plate. $20 of that $30 is going to the UNC J.C. Bern Center. And I think you all as linemen can appreciate the work that facility does, the fantastic work that facility does. It's something we never want to use, but it's certainly something that we want to have it available if it's ever needed. So that's the wonderful thing about this license plate. $20 of every license plate that's sold is going to go to that UNC J.C. Bern Center. Thank you so much for having me here this morning, and I know that you guys have got a great week with Public Power Week this week. I heard I missed the hot dog truck yesterday though, but have a fun Public Power Week, have a fun Month Fest week, and thank you very much for having me here, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
At this time, Charlie, would you come up and just make a couple of comments for us? We're really excited about Charlie's leadership and his ideas coming into New Bern almost a couple of years ago now. And so, again, we really appreciate what you're doing. So please make a couple of comments for us.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that was instrumental in getting this license plate put together. I think it's important for keeping the lights on and showing recognition to all the people in the utility, from setting lines to reading a meter to getting a bill out the door. Everybody that makes that happen and connects us and keeps the power on. So thank you very much.